English out loud.
Picture this. You want to hang out with your American friend or maybe a colleague you've been getting along with really well this weekend.
Yeah, a totally normal thing to want.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you decide to send them a text. You write, "Want to hang out Saturday?" And they reply, "Maybe. Let me check." Okay, cool. But then Wednesday rolls around.
Then.
Well, crickets.
Oh, the worst.
Thursday, still nothing. You are left staring at your screen, wondering, did I do something wrong? Like, was I too forward? Are we actually even friends?
It is an incredibly isolating feeling. You know, you feel like you've been rejected, but nobody actually said no. But I can promise you, it is entirely normal. It is just a completely different cultural rhythm.
Yeah, and that rhythm is exactly what we are getting into today. I was reading through this fascinating linguistic guide on conversational English recently, and it pointed out something that it blew my mind. There is a massive, often invisible gap between the formal textbook English we all learned in school and the highly specific unwritten social rulebook of American casual planning.
Oh, totally. The textbook English you'd use in a business email actually works against you when you are making casual plans.
Right, and whether you are navigating a completely new culture, actively learning English, or you're just endlessly fascinated by the weird ways human beings protect each other's feelings, this deep dive is for you. We are going to decipher this casual language so you're never caught off guard when a simple "let's hang out" suddenly turns into this high-stakes, confusing negotiation.
Because that's the core of it, really. If you try to lock down a time and place too aggressively, you violate the underlying framework of American social planning, which is all about creating what we can call the buffer zone.
The buffer zone. Okay, let's unpack this, because every plan has to start somewhere, usually with a suggestion. But looking at our sources, the very first step in this culture is, well, it's almost always a trap.
It really is. It's an invitation that isn't actually an invitation.
Right. Let's look at the spectrum of how people suggest plans. On the formal, rigid side, you have something like, would you be interested in getting dinner sometime this week?
Which, I mean, grammatically is perfectly polite.
Yeah.
Socially, however, it is incredibly stiff. You would probably only use phrasing like that with a new boss, or maybe your partner's parents whom you've literally just met.
Here.
It creates distance.
Like sounds like a job interview.
Exactly.
As you move down the spectrum to a more neutral tone, you get, do you want to grab dinner sometime this week? Then you reach casual, which is, hey, want to get dinner this week? And finally, the very casual, we should totally grab food soon.
And right there is the trap.
Yes. The absolute key phrase to watch out for is, we should do X sometime. Like, we should hang out sometime. I have to admit, the first time I encountered this, it drove me crazy. In my head, I'm thinking, if you don't want to hang out, just say no. Why do people go through this elaborate charade instead of just being direct?
What's fascinating here is why this tentative culture exists in the first place, right? And it brings us right back to that buffer zone. It removes immediate social pressure. By keeping things vague with a word like sometime or soon, neither person is forced into a corner.
Okay, I can see that.
Think about it. If someone asks you, do you want to get dinner at 7 p.m. on Thursday? And you are just exhausted and want to watch TV, you have to reject them directly to their face.
Which is awful.
Right, that causes social friction. So the phrase, we should hang out sometime, acts as a social lubricant. It translates to, I like you, and I am open to the idea of spending time with you in the abstract. It is not an itinerary.
So it's basically a vibe check.
That is exactly what it is.
It reminds me of when you leave a neighborhood store and the retail worker says, come back soon. It's warm and leaves a good impression, but they would be absolutely terrified if you literally returned the next morning with a sleeping bag expecting to hang out.
That is a perfect analogy. It's a social nicety. It's a way of establishing goodwill without making a contract.
Precisely. And to protect the buffer zone, Americans frequently make these tentative plans that don't become real until they are pushed. If you actually want to see this person, you cannot wait for some time to magically appear on your calendar. You have to take the initiative to anchor that vague intention to a real event.
You have to pivot. You have to move the conversation forward. You say something like, I was thinking of trying that new Thai place, want to come? Or a few of us are going to the beach Saturday, you should join. You bring a specific, tangible event into the conversation.
Notice the shift in the language there. You are moving from the abstract we should to the concrete want to come.
Right. It's still casual, but it demands an actual answer about a specific block of time.
So let's say you've successfully pinned them down to a real activity. You feel like you've won, you've escaped the mirage, but This is actually where the most delicate social dance begins. You are immediately thrust into the negotiation phase. You've suggested the tie place, and now they have to respond.
And again, the vocabulary they use is going to dictate the entire tone of the interaction. They aren't going to say, I graciously accept your offer.
I hope not.
Yeah, that would be weird. They will use much more casual filler phrases to keep the buffer zone intact while agreeing. They might say, yes, that sounds great, or I'm in, what time?
Our sources highlight a very specific, incredibly common phrase here, which is, I'm down, as in, yeah, I'm down for Thai food. Now, I have to push back on this one for a second.
Okay, let's hear it.
If you are learning this language, doesn't saying I'm down or I'm flexible run the risk of sounding totally apathetic. Let me demonstrate. If I say in a flat tone, yeah, sure, I'm down, I'm flexible, that sounds like I am actively dreading going.
Well, you've hit on the exact reason why intonation and delivery are literally everything.
Yeah.
If you deliver those phrases with a flat, sighing tone like you just did, you absolutely kill the vibe. You sound miserable. But the phrases themselves, when used correctly, signal a very high level of willingness. Saying it with an enthusiastic tone like, yeah, I'm totally down, means, count me in, I am fully on board.
So the words provide the flexibility, but your voice have to provide the enthusiasm.
That's the formula, and I'm flexible is actually the ultimate compliment in American casual planning.
Wait, really? The ultimate compliment.
Yes, because it means you are willing to adapt your own life to fit the other person's schedule. The entire back and forth of negotiating, picking the time, finding the place is a collaborative social exercise. It isn't just logistical.
Okay, I see. It's like playing a friendly game of tennis. You hit the ball over the net. Does Saturday afternoon work for you? They hit it back. I can't do Saturday, but Sunday works. You hit it back. Where do you want to go? They reply, I'm easy. You pick the place.
Exactly. It's a way of showing that you value the other person's convenience as much as your own. You are co-creating the plan.
Let's actually do a mini role play of this. The sources provide a really perfect example of this dance with a rooftop bar scenario. I'll be the person inviting, and you be the one responding.
Sounds good. I'm down.
See what you did there? Okay, here we go. Hey, a few of us are going to that rooftop bar downtown tonight. You should come.
Oh, that sounds fun. What time?
We're thinking around 8. Is that too late?
No, 8 works. Let me just check something. Yeah, I'm in.
Awesome. I'll add you to the group chat.
And scene. That is a textbook casual negotiation.
I love that little addition in there, is that too late? I'm proposing a time, but immediately offering an escape hatch to protect the buffer zone. I'm not barking an order like be there at 8.
Yeah.
I am asking permission.
Right, and in the response, I agreed to the general commitment, the vibe, the rough time, without making you stress over the exact GPS coordinates days in advance. You finalize by agreeing to text the exact address closer to the day. It keeps the pressure so low.
Which is brilliant. But we need to talk about the dark side of the buffer zone.
Oh boy, the dark side.
Yeah. What happens when that commitment falls through? You navigated the mirage, you danced the negotiation dance, the plan is set. And then life gets in the way. Dismantling a plan safely requires a completely different set of tools. Because if you do this wrong, you don't just lose a Saturday night, you risk genuinely damaging the friendship.
Canceling last minute is a highly complex social operation. You cannot simply state the facts. You don't say, I am not coming, I am tired.
That sounds brutal.
It is. You have to soften the blow to protect the other person's ego.
The etiquette of the bail. You hear phrases like, hey, I'm so sorry something came up.
Something came up is the ultimate shield. It provides a reason without demanding you explain the specific details of your personal life. It's universally understood as, please don't ask follow-up questions.
That's respectful of privacy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You might also hear, I'm swamped this week, which means completely overwhelmed with work, or work got crazy today, I don't think I can make it. But wait, isn't it better to just be honest? Like, if you are just too tired to go out, why do the whole song and dance about being swamped? Why lie?
Because brutal honesty can be interpreted as a rejection of the person, not just the event. If you say, I am too tired to see you, the other person hears, you are not worth my limited energy.
Ouch.
Right. So the white lie, saying work got crazy, shifts the blame to an external force. It preserves the other person's ego. Okay, that makes sense. It's about protecting their feelings.
Wow.
But here is the absolute golden rule from our sources, and it is the most important thing you need to remember about canceling. You must offer an alternative. Canceling a plan by just saying, sorry, something came up, and walking away feels incredibly dismissive.
It signals that you only care about getting out of the current obligation, not about the relationship itself.
I like to think of friendship as a shared bank account. Every time you have a great time together, you make a deposit. But every time you cancel a plan, you are making a withdrawal from that social trust account.
I love that analogy.
Thanks. And if you just say, I can't make it and disappear, your account goes into the red. You have to make a deposit immediately to balance the ledger.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, offering what's called a rain check is how you make that deposit. The sources define a rain check as an offer to reschedule something that didn't happen by saying, I feel terrible about this, but I have to cancel tonight. Can I take a rain check and take you out next Thursday instead? You are preserving social equity.
You are proving tangibly that you value the friendship over the specific event that had to be canceled. You're explicitly saying, I still want you in my life, I just cannot do it tonight.
Exactly. And you can even use it as a noun to be super efficient, like, that sounds fun, but I already got plans, rain check.
Look, flip the script for a second. If you are the one who gets canceled on, which, happens to everyone, how do you respond without sounding passive-aggressive? Like, how do you say, it's fine without sounding mad?
You maintain that same low-pressure, supportive tone. You say, no worries, let's plan something for next week, or hope everything's okay, we'll catch up soon. You show that you are understanding, and you leave the ball in their court to suggest the next time. You protect the buffer zone.
Okay, so we've covered making the plan, negotiating the details, and the delicate art of the bail. But let's assume the plan survives.
A miracle.
Right. It survives the cancellation window.
Yeah.
You wake up on the day of the event. And this is where things get truly wild. Because according to our notes, the medium of communication abruptly and completely shifts.
It's a fascinating pivot. Up until the day of the event, you might have been chatting in person at the office or messaging on an app or leaving long voice notes. But when the actual day of coordination arrives, texting becomes the absolute, undisputed king.
Oh, without a doubt. Phone calls for casual plans are far less common and honestly, in many demographics, actively avoided.
Yeah, people hate getting a phone call to confirm a casual lunch.
The sources highlight this massive shift to clipped, fast-paced texting language. You aren't writing full paragraphs or using punctuation anymore. You wake up and send 3 words, still on for tonight, just to check the pulse.
Yeah.
Then later, heading out now, I'll be there in like 15, or if you've arrived, here, I'm outside. It is nothing but rapid-fire status updates.
And this rapid-fire texting culture directly ties into another major American planning norm, which is the rules around lateness. In a casual hangout setting, being 10 to 15 minutes late is almost universally accepted. It isn't seen as an insult to the other person's time.
Which is so different from a business meeting.
Oh, completely. However, that grace period only exists if you utilize the text update. You have to send the message, running a little late, 10 minutes, sorry.
And if they send you that text, the gracious response is to immediately relieve their anxiety. You reply, no rush, I'm at a table inside, or take your time, I'm just grabbing a drink. But I have to stop and ask you about the phone call aspect. Why did calling become a social faux pas? Like, if I'm trying to find you at a crowded restaurant, why is typing, here, I'm outside, acceptable? But calling you to say those exact same words is considered rude.
It all comes down to what the different mediums demand from the other person and how that interacts with modern punctuality anxiety. Planning a few days out allows for open-ended conversation, but day of coordination requires instant, low-pressure micro-updates.
Okay.
A phone call is an absolute demand for immediate, undivided attention. It forces the other person to drop whatever they're doing, stop their real-world interaction, answer the phone, and engage.
Right. They might be standing at a loud bar trying to secure a table or navigating traffic or literally running down the street to meet you. The last thing they want to do is put a phone to their ear and shout over background noise.
Exactly. Texting respects the chaotic nature of getting to a destination. It allows you to deliver the necessary information like, I'm running late, without forcing the other person into a stressful interaction. They can read the text, acknowledge it, and go back to sipping their drink or listening to music until you arrive. Texting maintains that crucial buffer zone right up until the moment you see each other face to face.
A phone call is a demand for attention. A text is an offering of information. That makes total sense. It perfectly encapsulates the entire vibe of this planning culture. We're all just trying to coordinate our incredibly messy lives while maintaining this protective bubble of low pressure, flexibility, and social grace.
It is a delicate balance.
It really is. Okay, let's take a breath and do a quick vocabulary recap of the journey we've just mapped out.
Great idea. Let's lock in those terms.
So first we have make plans, which is the overarching term for setting up a hangout, right? Not just saying sometime, but actually putting it on the schedule.
Right. Then we had the response phrases. We talked about I'm down, which means I am interested and willing to participate. And flexible, meaning you can easily change your schedule to make it work.
Both of which require enthusiastic intonation.
Exactly. Don't sound miserable when you say you're down.
Then we hit the cancellation phase where we learned swamped, meaning totally overwhelmed, usually with work, and the golden rule phrase, rain check.
The rain check. An absolute must, offering to reschedule a canceled plan to a future date to prove you still care about the friendship.
And finally, to confirm, usually done via a quick text on the day of the event, just to make sure you are both still on.
You've got it. That's the playbook.
So what does this all mean? It means that armed with these specific phrases, these hidden definitions, and the framework of the buffer zone, you are ready. You can now navigate the incredibly tricky, often confusing waters of casual scheduling without feeling overwhelmed. You won't misinterpret a polite sometime as a devastating rejection, and you won't accidentally bankrupt your social trust account by canceling without offering a new date.
This raises an important question, though, and I want to leave you with this thought. As we analyze all these unwritten rules, if our modern language around making plans is becoming increasingly tentative, heavily reliant on text messages instead of voices, and completely dependent on the safety net of lane checks, are we as a society becoming terrified of true commitment in our friendships? Or conversely, have we simply evolved a highly sophisticated, highly empathetic way to stay connected in an unpredictable, exhausting world?
Oh, that is definitely something to chew on. Are we avoiding commitment, or are we just trying to survive our own calendars without hurting anyone's feelings? I tend to lean toward empathy, but it's a fine line. So I have to ask you guys, what's the hardest part about making plans in English? Is it suggesting, negotiating, or canceling? Drop a comment, we read every one, and we reply. Thanks for hanging out with us, and we'll catch you next time.